Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be reviewing
Dragon's Lair, a fantasy adventure where you become a valiant knight on a quest to rescue the fair princess.
No. I already did that skit when I reviewed the DSiWare version. This time, I have a capture card, so roll film. So this is actually going to be a review of the Dragon's Lair Trilogy. However, think of it as primarily a re-review for the first Dragon's Lair, because the second and third games had weird progression systems. Dragon's Lair 2 requires you to get treasures, whatever that means. So they essentially forced me to reset the game until I did certain sequences exactly right, which I was like, no thanks. Artificial backtracking is not something I'm a huge fan of. And then the third game, which isn't even a Dragon's Lair game at all, it's called Space Ace, and it has a new main character. That game deletes all of your progress if you take a break, so you better beat it in one sitting or else. Plus it had some disturbing content, like a recreation of the Garden of Eden. I don't know if I feel like doing that just yet. So, Dragon's Lair is an animated game that was done by Bluth, who you may know as the guy that was responsible for a lot of the animations for retro Disney cartoons. This game originally came out for the arcade in 1983, and boy does it show by the quality of the sound and how the animations are often very exaggerated and over the top, especially the death sequences. If you mess up one of these scenarios, you're not just gonna get a do-do-do-do-do-do like in Super Mario Brothers. You're gonna get a full-on animated scene that's perfectly in sync with whatever's going on the screen. So if Dirk falls in a pit of spikes, you'll see him getting impaled. If Dirk gets burned alive by lava, well, you can probably guess where that's going from here. And if you get a game over, you get to see Dirk turn into a skeleton. Yay for using your imagination in this game. You know, I'm kind of missing Super Mario Brothers now, as a matter of fact. Thankfully, the first Dragon's Lair gives you unlimited lives, even though the game says that it doesn't, but that's mainly for high score purposes. If you don't care a bit about your score, then you can just ignore the lives counter altogether. You also have the option to watch the games as movies, if you don't feel like doing the complicated Simon Says-like gameplay of pressing the right directional button or swinging your sword at exactly the right time. If you do decide to play it as a game, though, one cool addition that the Switch port has over the DSiWare version that I played is that you can toggle an indicator at the bottom of the screen so that it tells you exactly what you need to do. This doesn't by any means make the game a cakewalk, as rather like, say, a game of Simon, you have to press it at the right time and you can't press the wrong option, otherwise it's an instant death. So if you don't have the best of reflexes, this might not be the game for you. Thankfully, there are usually some multiple difficulty options to offset the game's brutal challenge. Remember, this was an arcade game. It was designed to gobble quarters. However, this being a Switch port, you don't really have to worry about that, unless you really don't like seeing Dirk become a skeleton. The Switch version also has a couple of neat extras, such as interviews with the creators of the game, the ability to see the original promotional trailer, which is what you saw a little bit of during my recreation of the skit I used for my DSiWare review, and abilities to jump to any cutscene you want, so that if you don't like certain scenes, you can just skip them. In some of the games, you'll even have the option to choose which version of the game you want to play, be it the home version, the arcade, and in the case of Dragon's Lair 2, even the director's cut. So it's nice that the game provides options, but I wish the options were uniformly across all three versions of the game. Like, why is it you can only play the director's cut of Dragon's Lair 2 and not Dragon's Lair 1? Also, why is it that you can't disable the lives counter? If you don't actually get game overs, then why do lives even matter if you're not into high scores? In addition to that, they didn't really fix the audio much at all. The voice acting is still atrociously bad. Thankfully, in the first Dragon's Lair, you don't really have to worry about it until the very end. Most of the time, you're just hearing grunts from Dirk as he struggles through this nefarious lair. The lair is actually pretty well designed, and I wish more games would be this environmentally aware. The problem is that replaying certain sections can get pretty tedious, especially if you're pretty sure that you got the answer right, but there is just input lag. Dragon's Lair 2 fixes a lot of problems that the original Dragon's Lair had, such as having multiple settings instead of just this dank, dark dungeon, more voice acting, even if honestly, most of it is pretty terrible. But the main problem is that the scenes go on for way too long. The original Dragon's Lair was more or less a room-based challenge, so after you beat a room or a corridor, you'd be able to proceed to the next one. Not in Dragon's Lair 2, you'd have to go through an entire sequence, which got really annoying, especially as the game starts out with an extremely aggressive mother trying to kill you, yet at the same time telling you to find her daughter? How are you supposed to find her daughter if she's trying to kill you? I'm not going to try to dissect this game's ridiculous plot. Overall, the Dragon's Lair trilogy is pretty fun if you really, really like Simon. You could probably still get enjoyment if you just watch these games as movies, or if you want to view the history behind how the games were made. But honestly, in this day and age, you might be better off just watching a YouTube playthrough of this, instead of going through the trouble of buying a whole trilogy just so that you can play a game that's basically a movie. However, if you like this kind of gameplay, this is definitely the version to do it, as you can play it either portable or on TV, although I didn't really notice too many differences between the visual quality on the TV or in handheld mode, maybe because this is a 1983 arcade game. Either way, you get 3 beautifully animated games, even if the third game isn't technically a Dragon's Lair game. And you can also get this version on the Wii, although I've been told that it's much, much harder to find. So, proceed with caution or rent it like I did. You probably won't be disappointed if you just rent it. But otherwise, I suggest waiting for this to really, really go on sale, like maybe down to 10 or 15 bucks, like the DSiWare version was. With that, thank you very much for watching. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, critiques, etc., please leave them in the comment section. And until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, God bless, and if your princess gets kidnapped by a dragon, let's hope you don't turn into a skeleton in the process. Bye!